Let's talk about what came out from Marvel in terms of San Diego Comic-Con. Now, I had talked about some of the news that came from San Diego Comic-Con on my podcast, The Fruit Basket, that came out Sunday. And essentially, I talked about some of the DC news. There was a few things that came out. And there was some comic news that came out that was pretty big. DC released a trailer for Creature Commandos. But the night that I was recording that was when Marvel was having their big H3 panel for the, Marvel Studios movie, shit like that. I was not aware. If I was aware, I probably would have waited until all that news came out and then recorded afterwards. But, things, shit happens. We do have some news now about what, all went down at the panel. I remember, literally once I jumped off stream, I started seeing updates on my Twitter feed, and I was just watching them as they were happening live. I literally went to discussing films page and was just reloading every 5 minutes or so just to get some updates. But yeah, shit. There was some wild stuff, and we'll definitely talk about it. You probably already know at this point because it's been big news. But let's get into it. Now, we're going to start with some of the smaller stuff, and then we'll get into the bigger stuff later on. So first off, we're going to start with Fantastic Four. They announced a new title for it, Fantastic Four First Steps. Apparently, there was a trailer showed, and we'll kind of just get into that. We're just going to kind of read some of the stuff here. We got some plot details. Director Matt Shakman. Director Matt Shakman stated that he wants the powers of Fantastic Four to feel real, talking to scientists and animal experts. The film will not just be doing a 1960s setting and aesthetic, but a futuristic version of the time period. Shackman would say that the New York in the film is what you've seen from the 60s and something more. This does make me believe that maybe this is a different universe, because, if you want it to be a futuristic 60s, then how can you explain that Marvel in the 2000s was, exactly how the 2000s was? What, they didn't keep that future aesthetic going forward or whatever? I don't know. We'll see. So yeah, we have a description of the footage that was shown. The footage filmed in who cares about the aspect ratio? It looks like it is playing on a retro television. It starts with Reed Richards teaching in classroom, asking if they want to see an explosion. The Thing is seen on the retro dating show The Dating Game, but only as a silhouette. I did see some of the footage. It looked pretty cool. You can't really tell from the quality of the footage if it's prosthetics or if it's CGI. We'll just have to see. The footage ends with the team in astronaut suits with the last name of the characters on the suits as they enter a retro futuristic looking rocket before the ship takes off. And the footage ends with Galactus' face behind a building. Part of his face is seen through the building, and it's clear he has a comic accurate look. Yeah, that was the one thing that I was frantically searching for. They were just Galactus. They showed Galactus, and I was like, oh, I gotta look it up. It was literally just you could only see his eyes. That was it. But yeah, he looks to be very big. But we'll just have to see it. It looked pretty cool, but they really only showed stuff that I think is only gonna really appear in the first 30 minutes, more than likely. So we'll just have to see. Then we have Thunderbolts. Following the Captain America Brave New World cast appearance, Thunderbolts with an asterisk at the end for some reason. The director of that movie, Jake Schreier, walked on stage along with the cast, with David Harbour being in costume. I did see that. Apparently he was just oh, I thought we were going to come in costume since it's Comic-Con. Some plot details. Feige was sure to point out that the Thunderbolts will not be named after Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross. The cast also described the film as struggling and reluctant to work together as well. I don't know why you wouldn't. I don't know why. I think he's supposed to be in it, or maybe not. I don't think so. But it's weird. Why wouldn't you do that? Apparently there was some footage shown. The footage begins... Now, I have not seen this. The footage begins with Elena visiting Alexi's messy and unkept apartment, asking if he is fulfilled. A dramatic version of the Pixie song Where Is My Mind begins to play as the Thunderbolts are each individually assigned to the same assignment and end up fighting each other. A character named Bob, shown in a hospital gown, is introduced before the footage ends. More than likely going to be the Sentry. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about this movie. I do like the idea that it's not a team that is brought together beforehand. I do kind of like the idea that it's like, no, they're all just so happen to have the same assignment. So we'll have to see about that. I do kind of like that aspect of like changing up the team, being like, no, they become a team because they just so happen to run into each other. Um, but yeah, I still have a problem with this team's lineup because it's just like it just feels like so many redundancies. I talked about this during my I believe it was when I was talking about the Ultimates lineup in the comics right now. Like there's too many redundancies. Like you have the Red Guardian and US Agent, which are just, Captain America ripoffs. You have two super spies with uh Yelena and Bucky, and you have two reformed-ish villains with like crappy parents with Taskmaster and Ghost. Like I don't know how I feel about this lineup, but we'll just have to see where this goes. Apparently, Ghost has a new look that is something that I've found out, but that's about it. Then we have some information about Brave New World, the Captain America movie. Feige started the panel by bringing in the cast of Captain America Brave New World, Anthony Mackie, Danny Ramirez, Giancarlo Esposito, I think that's how you say his name, and Tim Blake Nelson took to the stage as Feige described Brave New World as a grounded return to the style and aesthetics as Captain America the Winter Soldier, which I feel like you could definitely get from the trailer. To expound upon that, Anthony Mackie would speak of his supporting cast as a very good indicate characters that help Sam move throughout the plot and the story. He's not a muscle-bound guy, he's thoughtful and cerebral. In terms of plot details, it's revealed that Giancarlo's character, which was added during reshoots, is the leader of the Serpent Society Sidewinder. There are also the reveal that adamantium, which was something that I heard like beforehand, like the Celestial is gonna get mined, and that's how they discover adamantium. And I was just like, I kind of hate that. I think that's so dumb. As part of the Brave New World, countries all over the world are fighting for adamantium resources, but President Ross's goal is to share the wealth with the world. To do that, he asked Sam Wilson to rebuild the Avengers with him. What followed after this announcement is the same footage that was shown at CinemaCon 2024, along with a scene featuring new President Thaddeus Ross, directly talking about the Celestial that came out of the Earth at the end of the Eternals and the production adamantium. Sam Wilson is shown with Joaquin in his Falcon suit as they are flying together. The footage ends with President Ross becoming the Red Hulk at a podium in front of the White House. The Red Hulk's face looks exactly like Ford, only with yellow eyes and black hair. I do like that they kept the yellow eyes aspect. But then we have the big news. Actually, before we really get to that, now let's talk about these three right here and my kind of feelings about them. I'm pretty hyped for Fantastic Four, and with the footage that I did see, it did get me hyped. It looks like a pretty good movie with the aesthetic of like the 1960s with like a more futuristic setting. I do really like it, and I do have high hopes for it. But it's probably the only movie out of all of these that I do. Thunderbolts, I really just don't care for. I do like the idea of this team kind of coming together accidentally. But still, I'm not really interested in seeing anyone from the lineup except for maybe Red Guardian. And with Captain America Brave New World, I'm not really that interested in it. I don't know. I feel like the plot seems to be pretty obvious, where I think it's literally just going to be that like Red Hulk and the leader are behind everything. I don't know. It just feels very in your face, but while trying to be like mysterious. I don't know. Then obviously we have the big news, the news that everyone heard of as of now. Avengers 5 is now called Avengers Doomsday, with Robert Downey Jr. playing the role of Doctor Doom. I've heard a lot of people have takes on this. The Russo brothers are also coming back to direct this movie and the sixth one, Secret Wars, which I talked about a few weeks ago. This, I don't know how I feel. I get people who hate this idea in terms of Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom. I understand that completely. I do understand people who were upset that, Kang is not the focus anymore because they could have just recasted Kang after what happened with Jonathan Majors. I don't think anyone's really cheering for this. I do think there are some people, and I do understand that too. Like, I don't really have a strong opinion when it comes to this. I'll be honest, I kind of been done with the MCU for a while now, And I have some thoughts on this, some negative, some good. I do like the idea of an evil Iron Man coming back and being behind this, but him being like Victor Von Doom, like, unless he is like a variant of Tony Stark, I am not really for this. Like, if he is playing Victor Von Doom as Doctor Doom and not just like some evil Tony Stark as Doctor Doom, I'm not behind that at all. I think that's dumb. You should have just got someone else. Or they should have just recast Kang. And even then, I'm not like big on like it being an evil Iron Man. If it was like Superior Iron Man, like they could have just done Superior Iron Man, but it's Robert Downey Jr. I also saw a lot of people who like love Doctor Doom being upset about this for many different reasons. One, they don't just want him to be a variant on Tony Stark, which makes complete sense. If there was a Doctor Doom who was already in the MCU, I don't think people would be that upset about it. But the fact that like this is the MCU Doom, it's shitty. It's really not that great. I don't love it. I don't have strong opinions about this, but I do understand people's grievance, and I do understand why some people are excited. I don't really care either way. I do think the biggest problem with this is that it shows that they just could not move away from what they did before and bring a new face to the MCU. Because Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man was the face of the MCU for a long time. And it seemed like what they were trying to do with like Phase 4 and with Phase 5 now is try to develop a new phase. And that phase looked like it definitely could have been Sam Wilson and should have been Sam Wilson Captain America. But it felt like they just could not commit to it. Like they refused to. Maybe because of the backlash, even though it was fucking stupid backlash done by racists of Sam Wilson being Captain America. It's just, I don't understand why they couldn't just find another face. Maybe also because they are having problems with, using Spider-Man in the MCU because of Sony. I think my opinion towards this is more on the, like, this is a bad move side than it is on this is a good move side. I will say this does make me more excited than it being Kang, because I did not really care. I don't really care for Kang as a character, in all honesty. I really don't. But like at the same time, this isn't a good move. It's really not. But at the same time, I don't really care all that much, because I honestly do think that they're just gonna reset everything after, Secret Wars anyways. So we're probably gonna get a more accurate Doctor Doom, maybe, because the MCU, the Marvel Studios, has a terrible job when it comes to casting Ramoni characters. So like Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, they are not good at it. They are not. I don't think they're gonna fix that even with a reset, honestly. But we'll have to see. I don't know. Again, I think at this point with the MCU, I'm just kind of like, whatever. If it's not comic accurate, I don't care at this point. As long as just, a good movie, that's all I really care about. Like, I'm just kind of done with the MCU. I'm honestly kind of just done with a lot of comic adaptations as a whole, where I'm just kind of like, if you want to change it up, if you want to, kind of change it up for your adaptation, as long as it ends up being a better story, that's fine. As long as it, is a good story at the end of the day, I do not care if you're not accurate to the comics. As much as I do love comics, and I do like to see the stuff that, I like be brought up to the big screen, the creative decisions make it still a good movie, a good story. I don't really care that much anymore. I don't really care all that much for like comic accuracy. I don't. But I understand why a lot of people are upset about this, because we have never had a comic accurate Doctor Doom on the big screen in any shape or form. Fan Stick Doctor Doom was terrible, looked like a crash dummy, and originally was supposed to be the Herald of Galactus. The original Doctor Doom from like the 2000s with the Fox movies sucked. He's probably like the closest we have gotten to a accurate Doctor Doom, and he was still fucking terrible. And even then, it was not accurate at all. Like, he didn't go on that mission with them. He's like born of like, his like whole power set is born of like a combination of technology and magic. That not from cosmic rays. And now we're getting what's essentially more than likely going to be a different version of Tony Stark as Doctor Doom. It's just, I understand why people are upset about this. I'm not, I'm not gonna be the one champion, even though I don't really care. I'm not gonna really champion this position of being like, no, this is good. I'm just like, it's a bad move at the end of the day. I do think so, but at the same time, I'll probably still watch. I don't really care. I've seen a lot of backlash for it, and I totally get it. But at the same time, I'm just at the point with the MCU and a lot of comic adaptations where I'm just like, I don't need it to be a 1-for-1. As long as it like helps the story, I'm fine. I still have my criticisms of it. Overall, I don't think this is a good decision, but at the end of the day, I'm just like, I just want this to be good. Because honestly, I don't really have that much faith with the MCU at that point. I have not seen Deadpool and Wolverine yet. I'll probably see it when this comes out, probably be in a few days. This will probably drop like during Wednesday. I'll probably try to see it this weekend, but we'll just have to see. I'm not exactly hyped for these movies, I'm gonna be honest. Even before this, I wasn't hyped. This is probably the only thing where I was just like, you know what, maybe I will go see them. Just to see how this turns out, but we'll have to see about that. But yeah, this is all we really had to talk about. This is really, all the stuff that really came out with the Marvel news.